The Town of Los Gatos Planning Commission meeting of March 13, 2024 is now called to order. As we begin the meeting tonight, I would ask staff make a presentation regarding the rules of decorum and civility.
Thank you. For the benefit of the community, the Town of Los Gatos asks that you follow the town's meeting guidelines while attending town meetings and treat everyone with respect and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armour. Let's begin then with roll call. When I say your name, please respond by saying here. Commissioner Hanson?
Here.
Commissioner Burnett?
Here.
Commissioner Janoff?
Here.
Commissioner Mayer?
Here.
And I will note that Vice Chair Thomas is not here this evening. She's not feeling well, so our best wishes go out to her as she's watching us tonight. So let's then proceed to the Pledge of Allegiance. May I ask Commissioner Burnett to lead us tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we'll begin with the verbal communications portions of our meeting, during which members of the public are invited to speak and address the Commission on any issue that is not on the agenda. Staff will announce when your 3-minute time limit is up. Mr. Paulson, do we have anybody on Zoom for the public portion?
We do not.
Thank you. And I have no cards from anybody in the audience wishing to speak on verbal communications. Then we will proceed to the consent calendar. Tonight, we have only one item on the consent calendar, that being the approval of the minutes of our meeting on February 28, 2024. Before the Planning Commission acts on the consent calendar, any member of the Commission may request this item be removed. Are there any such requests from commissioners? Seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
I move that we approve the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes of our February 28th, our 2024 meeting.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second on the motion? Yes, Commissioner Janoff.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you so much. Any discussion? No, then by a show of hands, commissioners, can I see those in favor of the motion? And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. We'll then proceed now to the public hearings portion of our meeting. We have 2 items tonight. Let's begin first with item number 2. Consider on remand an appeal of a denial of a fence height exception request for construction of a 6-foot tall fence located within the required front yard setback, street side yard setback, and corner site triangle on property zoned R18, located at 124 Garden Hill Drive, APN 424-23-084. Fence height exception application FHE-23-005. This project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and the property owner applicant is Rushikesh Kulkarni. First, before we proceed, may I have, by a show of hands, those commissioners who have visited the property? Thank you all. And are any of the disclosures on this? Seeing none. I believe Mr. Safdie, you'll be presenting staff report this evening?
Yes, thank you, and good evening, commissioners. Before you tonight is a remand of an appeal of a Community Development Director decision to deny a fence height exception request at 124 Garden Hill Drive. The appeal previously came before the Planning Commission on November 8th of last year and was denied due to the required findings, as well as Parks and Public Works not being able to support the exception along the corner site triangle. The owner appealed this decision to Town Council and prepared additional information as well as a revised design. Town Council voted to remand the application back to Planning Commission on January 16th, noting that the owner was willing to compromise to allow for the corner site area to be visible. So the owner then submitted revised plans on February 8th, and those are provided in this packet in Exhibit 5. The exception request is now twofold. So first is to approve an exception to permit the existing solid 6-foot tall wooden fence along the front property line. This area is highlighted in orange in Exhibit 6 of your report. This portion of the fence is substantially a replacement of a previous fence, which was also 6 feet tall and was set back approximately 5 feet from the front property line. This replacement fence is also 6 feet tall. However, it is approximately 7 inches closer to the front property line to be roughly 4.5 feet setback. Town code does allow an existing non-conforming fence to be replaced in kind. and this is substantially an in-kind replacement. And conditions D and E, special security concern and special circumstance of Town Code Section 2940-0320 for granting a height exception could be considered in this case. And second on the request is for an exception for a fence taller than 3 feet within the required front setback, street side setback, and corner site triangle. So this is the area highlighted in blue in Exhibit 6. The owner has amended this request per conversations with staff as well as the direction from council so that the proposed material would be of an open view, wrought iron fencing so that safety and visibility can be maintained along the corner of these two streets. The existing 3-foot-tall solid wood and 3-foot-tall bamboo screen would be removed to accommodate this 6-foot-tall iron fence with 1/2-inch pickets spaced every 4 inches, equating to roughly 89% open view. Parks and Public Works staff has stated that they can now support this corner site exception. Conditions D and E, again, special security concern and special circumstance of Town Code 2940-0320 for granting a height exception can also be used here. Based on this discussion provided in the report outlined in the revised design, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the appeal and approve the exception request with the findings in Exhibit 2 and the conditions contained in Exhibit 3. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Safdie. Commissioners, any questions for staff on that report? No. Seeing then, I will now open up this matter to the public portion of the hearing and give the applicant an opportunity to address the commission for up to 5 minutes. And the applicant, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Rishi Kulkarni? Is that correct? Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni. You have 5 minutes. Oh,
sorry.
5 minutes to speak, and then you'll have additional minutes after other people of the public had an opportunity to speak as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate your time and consideration in this regard and allowing me the opportunity to take the issue up with you guys on multiple occasions and being patient with the revisions of designs as we've gone through the iterations. I think we've now reached a point of consensus between Planning Department and myself and my designers, whereby we think that we can achieve a happy median where my security concerns, primarily as a parent of 2 little boys, 3 years and 6 years, who play in that side of the yard, which is essentially the backyard for our property, can be addressed. We've had a couple of issues over the past 6 months or so where we had there's a number of coyote sightings on a regular basis, which is a security concern, which is why we were of the opinion that a 6-foot high fence is essential to give us that security against the yard. And another incident that occurred a while ago, which I didn't even mention in the public listing, was we had unfortunate incident where I think there was a mentally ill homeless person that was kind of parking around that area and walking with his dog. This happened almost more than 6 months ago, and he was walking along the curbside and just had his kind of panic attack or whatever, and the dog basically jumped the fence and my kids were inside the house. So that was the trigger where we originally decided enough was enough and we needed to get some temporary arrangement, which is why we erected the bamboo fence. And then the rest of the things were, as noted in the thing. So that was the original genesis for why we felt the need, but understand the concerns around side traffic triangle and so on. Long way of saying, I think at this point, it feels to me that we have addressed all of the concerns that Planning Commission and Traffic and Public Works had. And Mike Ronan, who was the traffic engineer, town traffic engineer, has come on site, seen the area, as is Ryan. And hopefully, I'm hopeful that my request will be acceptable. And we will, once approved, go and remove the fence, that solid fence, and replace it with a wrought iron fence as shown in the design. So that's my request of you guys.
Thank you so much for your comments. And before you sit down, any commissioners have questions for the applicant this evening? Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you for all the changes that you've made to try and make this work better for our town's regulations and safety for all. Since one of your main concerns is the wildlife, the coyotes, have you determined, or your designers, have they determined that the spacing of the wrought iron fence in the more visible area is going to be able to keep out coyotes. I ask because I live in the hillsides, and we have probably even more coyotes, and so
Yeah,
they're small.
yes, they did. And that's specifically addressed in the 0.5, 0.25 inch and 4 inches space versus having a 1 inch and 8 or 2 inches and 8 inches, because the 8 inches gap would have still allowed for the 80% visibility, but that would lead to potentially a smaller coyote being able to get through, which is the concern we addressed while maintaining the visibility requirement. So that was specifically addressed.
Very good. So that now you meet the visibility requirement. You can see, and with the corner site, but then you also have the safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? No. You may have a seat, and you'll have a chance to address the commission at the end of the. All right. We'll now open the matter to members of the public who wish to be heard on this matter. I don't have any other speaker cards, but if you are interested and in person here, please fill out a card and you can pass it forward. Mr. Paulson, anybody on Zoom?
There is not.
None. And I see no speakers in person who wish to be heard on this matter. So I will allow the applicant, sir, if you wish to be heard again, you can address us again. Otherwise, you can pass and just allow us. Thank you so much. Well, then I will close the public portion of the hearing and invite questions, discussions, comments, or even a motion from my commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Burnett.
Yes, I have a question for staff. Were there any letters or the neighbors, did they respond to the new design for the changes in the fencing?
Thank you for that question. We didn't receive any updated letters. However, as a reminder, the last time this came before Planning Commission, I believe there was 6 to 8 neighbors that spoke in support for the current placement of the fence and current design.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to comment. I recall when we saw this before that the primary issue, I think, that was affecting most of the planning commissioners, or my interpretation was that Parks and Public Works had determined that this violated the issue with the corner site triangle. And it does require an exception to our fence ordinance, but the safety issue with the corner site triangle is a big issue, and it was for the Parks and Public Works. So I feel that the applicant has addressed that with this revision to their plans and making that part of the design more visible. And since we do have the vote now, positive vote now from Parks and Public Works, I feel that I can support the appeal.
Thank you for those comments. Commissioner Janoff.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Hanson that our primary concern was the line of sight, and that satisfies Public Works, so that satisfies me. The only concern I have remaining is if we make a fence height exception, which exception would we be making? I liked the staff report, or the applicant who said, let's keep the kids in and the coyotes out. For me, the coyotes aren't so much an issue because we've got coyotes everywhere in town. I've got them in my yard, Commissioner Hanson in hers, they're there. They can also jump a 6-foot fence if they really want to. However, your property is unique in that it is your, as you said, your backyard is your side yard. And I could make an exception saying that this is a special circumstance. I don't think I want to make a special circumstance exception based on the criteria that you suggested regarding your religious preference. That becomes a sticky issue. It's not one of our exception criteria, as our town attorney pointed out last time you were before us. So I think I can make the determination for a special circumstance with the configuration of the lot. That's your only yard, really, for the kids to play in. I sure would want my kids or grandkids behind a 6-foot fence if I could legally do that. So I would be in favor of the motion, or favor of approving this under special circumstance E. And I'm not sure whether we need to make any comment or a separate comment regarding the rebuild of the in-kind fence. I'm not sure whether that's part of the motion or not.
could use the same condition for both of the exception requests, if you felt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from commissioners? Or my sense is we're on the verge of a motion, if someone would like to proceed with such a motion. Yes.
Let me see if I can get this right. So we are granting the appeal of the denial of the fence height exception request. Is that correct? Okay. So I move that we grant the appeal of the denial of the fence height exception request for construction of a 6-foot tall fence located within the required front yard setback, street side yard setback, and corner side triangle on property zoned R18, APN 424-23-084. Categorically exempt pursuant to CEQA. And the property owner is, am I reading this thing wrong? Okay, the thing is wrong. The staff report has it wrong on this one, on the page of Exhibit 2. Rishi Kulkarni, and I can make the required findings for CEQA, and I can make the required findings for granting a fence height exception in that a special circumstance exists, including lot size or configuration where strict enforcement of these regulations would result in undue hardship. And that is my motion.
One addition to also add the conditions of approval? Is that
Oh, and add the conditions of approval, always in Exhibit 3, I believe, and in accordance with the plans that we see in Exhibit 6.
Thank you so much for that motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Burnett?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any comments, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Burnett. I'm sorry,
Janoff.
Commissioner Janoff.
Just clarifying that we are making the motion based on Exhibit 2, but not including the special security consideration for a fence exception.
I only mentioned in the findings, that finding of the special circumstance, not the security concern.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? No. Then by a show of hands, can I see those in favor of the motion? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you. Any appeal rights?
Yes, the decision of the commission can be appealed to town council by any interested person, as defined by Town Code Section 2910-020, within 10 days on forms available online with fees paid. Final deadline is 4 p.m. on the 10th day.
Thank you so much. Let's now move to item number 3 on our agenda. Request for approval of a modification to an existing conditional use permit for a convenience market that includes the sale of beer and wine at an automobile service station on property zoned C1, located at 666 North Santa Cruz Avenue, APN 529-10-141. The project is categorically exempt from CEQA. Property owner and applicant is Samir Dev and HDLM Associates. May I have a show of hands from the commissioners who have visited the property? Thank you all, and any disclosures? None. Let's see, this evening, I believe Ms. Schutman will be presenting staff report. And I think I got to you too quickly, sorry.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
Before you tonight is a request for a modification to an existing conditional use permit for a convenience market that includes the sale of beer and wine at a service station. The existing service station has been operating with an approved conditional use permit since 1970. The proposed project includes an interior expansion of the existing convenience market into the automotive service bays and would not result in an increase to the existing building size or lot coverage. The proposed exterior finishes include tile wainscot, wood panel lap siding, wood trim, and aluminum windows in a dark bronze color. The existing tile roof is proposed to remain. The request this evening would legalize a convenience market that includes the sale of beer and wine at the service station. This completes staff's presentation. However, we are available for any questions.
Thanks so much. Commissioners, any questions for, yes, Commissioner Janoff.
Thank you. I note in the staff report that the property is within 500 feet of Oak Meadow Park. The report indicates that generally we want locations that sell alcoholic beverages to be outside of that range. Can you tell us the exact distance from Oak Meadow Park? Or close enough, within 10 feet?
I could give you an approximation if you just gave me a quick moment.
In the meantime, any other questions from commissioners or staff? Go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
I don't want to give her too many things to work on, but there was commentary in the staff report about the number of institutions that, or outlets or stores or what have you, that actually sell alcohol within a certain radius of this property. But what I was more interested in was, almost every gas station has a convenience store now, and I never did this research, but I was curious as to whether or not this is essential to the operation of a convenience store in terms of being competitive with the others out there, because there was a mention of a great number of places where you could purchase beer and wine, but at a convenience store, at a gas station, is that a thing?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And to circle back to Commissioner Janoff's question, it's approximately 1,000 feet away from Oak Meadow Park. Yeah. And then in response to your question, Commissioner Hanson, when staff looked at this, we evaluated all of the licenses available online through ABC, and so that was the approximation. Obviously, the staff report did state that included grocery stores, that included restaurants, that wasn't just limited to service stations. This section of the code you're describing is really just a factor that the deciding body can consider when looking at the overall. The applicant is here this evening, and they could discuss more of the model and in terms of competition, which your question was related to. There is a service station directly across the street, 7-Eleven, which does include a sale of beer and wine, but the applicant could speak more to your question about the competitiveness of it.
Thank you so much. Any other questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Mayor.
Yes, for staff. Do we have a sense of other gas stations in town and the number of those that currently sell beer and wine?
I don't have an approximation of gas stations in particular. We did look at convenience store models, and so you have a convenience store directly across the street, the 7-Eleven. That includes the sale of beer and wine. Staff did look at the conditional use permit for the 7-Eleven on East Main Street, and that one also does include the sale of beer and wine.
Please.
Yeah, follow-up question to that. So I believe the 7-Eleven sells refrigerated beer, but here it says that this would not allow the sale of refrigerated alcoholic beverages. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, so the 7-Eleven on East Main Street and the one referenced on North Santa Cruz, those both had conditional use permits that were approved in 1982. The provision which describes not having those beverages refrigerated came to be codified in 1995 or 1996. So when those conditional use permits were processed, those limitations were in effect at the time.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll open the public portion of this matter. I have one card for the applicant architect, Kurt Wagenknecht. Please feel free to correct me with that attempt. And you have 5 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Kurt Wagenknecht. I'm with K-12 Architects, and I'm representing the owner tonight. The owners are here tonight if you have any specific questions for them.
And before you proceed, I think if you can somehow raise that a little bit, it might help. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for your presentation. Maybe to enlighten the commissioners on the use of beer and wine in convenience stores, it is the common thing today to have beer and wine in sales within the convenience stores. I've been designing convenience stores for 20 years, and 99% of them have beer and wine. And probably 99% of those have cold refrigerated beer and wine. It's actually the first time I've heard that, you know, you can't refrigerate it. But that's the norm in almost any convenience store nowadays. So it is a competitive sale item.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you for the commentary. That was helpful. In the design plans that I saw in our packet, there was reference to a beer cave. So can you talk to me about what does that look like? Because it's not going to have a refrigerator.
We may not be able to do that if you have a regulation that says we cannot sell refrigerated beer. But that's what that beer cave is. Most convenience stores now have a walk-in beer area, and they call them beer caves, where you can stack, you know, a 12-pack or whatever of beer of different manufacturers in one spot, and people can go in and grab what they want and take off.
Well, okay, so since our regulation is that you can't refrigerate it, then
we will have to
whether or
remove
not
that.
Be a beer cave?
Yeah,
then?
yeah,
Okay.
we would have to remove that. It would probably become just soda and water area, but it'll have doors on it. It won't be accessible.
Okay.
We'll modify the plan, because that usually, a beer cave usually has doors and a couple of reach-in doors for sales. So we'll just make it all reach-in for everything but beer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners, yes, Commissioner Burnett.
Thank you, and thank you for coming tonight. Just a question, could you just refresh my mind on the hours of operation?
The hours are from 6 to 10, and I think in my application I may have increased that from 5 to midnight, but just to give them a little leeway.
So every day is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
No, I think Saturdays and Sundays, are you still 6 to 10 Saturday? 7 to 10.
And little follow-up, you're saying that the reason why you want to go to a more of a sort of like a small grocery store I'm looking at, that the need for car repair isn't as necessary anymore because the cars have evolved so much that the kind of work that's needed in this kind of in repair, it's not.
That's true.
Not as frequent. So, but on the other hand, there are so many cars that do need this kind of repair work. It's sort of you're sort of sorry to see 3 bays go that provide a service for the town.
The owner may want to discuss that particular item because it.
Sure. Would you like to, if you'd like to proceed to the microphone, give us your name, please? Thank you. Please, if you approach, and if you give us your name, please.
My name is Mahesh Bhagat.
Thank you.
So it's a corporation, and so I'm part of the corporation. I'm secretary of the corporation. So if you look at the landscape, right? So we have been there for 20 plus years, and through thick of the times, right? The 85 open and all those kind of things, and up and down, business, even during the COVID times and all that. But over time, as you see, and like, Supervisor pointed out, that the cars have become more reliable. And at the same time, they have become more involved with the technology. So the small shops cannot invest in expensive tools to diagnose, the cars anymore. You have to go to a very specific, manufacturer to diagnose. So small vendors cannot keep all kinds of tools, will be out of business. Cars have become more reliable, And now, most of you must be owning some sort of EV and all that, which does not require any maintenance anymore. So the business has been in decline, and we said that, either we just shut down the whole operation, right? That obviously gas also is on decline, as you know. So this is the way to support the, city revenue, right? The town's revenue, and also keep the business in the city.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
To answer your question.
I did a follow-up.
Okay.
Actually, the hours are from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. So that's, let's see, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, 5 a.m. to 12 a.m., Monday through Friday. So those are the hours.
Currently, yes. And as you know, I don't know if you visited that part of the town, but it's pretty much dead after, 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Commissioner Janoff. And I'm sorry, for which?
This, I guess, is a question for the architect. I'm noting in the staff report that 10 spaces for parking are required, and it says 10 spaces are provided. I'm looking at your Exhibit 8, which is sheet A101 of your, that shows the plan of the lot, and I can only count 9 spaces. So I'm just curious where that 10th space is, or do we have some?
On your plan, on the left-hand side towards industrial, does it have 3 spaces or 4? Because that was
3.
Yeah, we added a 4th one there.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'd like to ask a question, maybe for the applicant directly, it might be better. As part of our packet, we were provided a list of conditions of approval, things that you would have to agree to as part of this approval. I just wanted to confirm that you had reviewed those, you had approved those. So for instance, the no cold alcohol sold, the hours of operation, et cetera. I wanted to confirm that you've reviewed those and all those terms are acceptable to you. Is that correct? And if we could, there seems to be some confusion over the hours. Our packet has 5 to 12 Monday to Friday, 6 to 12 Saturday, Sunday. Are you willing to limit those a little bit more, 6 to 10 and 7 to 10? Is that what I understood from the earlier discussion?
Yes. Current operations are, 6 to 10 on the weekdays, and then on weekends 7 to 10, because nobody's around that anyway.
So those would be satisfactory going forward as well?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are my questions. Commissioners, any more questions for the applicant? All right, you'll have a few minutes at the end to answer any other questions. Oh, actually, before you sit, Commissioner Mayer.
Sorry, just quick question for the owner. I just want to understand the ownership structure. I understand that the changing nature of car servicing and the need to evolve your business. Can you clarify? Do you own just the convenience store and the car repair area, or do you also own the gas service as well? Okay.
The entire business.
And you own the property as well, or are you leasing?
As well.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'll now ask members of the public if they wish to be heard on this matter. I have no yellow cards for anybody else in the audience, but I see your hand raised. Sir, please approach. State your name when you reach the microphone, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Get a little taller here. Love it. Hey, guys. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a business owner here in town. I just wanted to talk about Sam Dave, or Samir Dave. I'm 36 years here in town, and to be friends or know Sam and his family, I mean, you guys got to know, this guy's a really good guy, hardworking business person. He's every Saturday. He's got a group, a plethora of family who run that great business, and I see what he does there. So just on the outside looking in, the applicant is really just a genuine, really good, hardworking person. So just take that in acknowledgement. And then I think about the convenience store. And then I think about, I don't go there for beer and wine, but I do run in there and I grab like milk, or I grab eggs, or I do something because I'm a parent also. But I think about the North 40. I think about all those 500 people we just put in our town. I also think about the Los Gatos Lodge. I'd say another 500 more people in town. I think about how many convenience stores to run in to get something that I need quick for dinner or make something for lunch, or go to Visona Park, grab some hot dogs or grab some buns or hamburgers. I see it all the time because I'm a business owner around the corner. I think Sam's got a great idea. I do see that cars, the technology in cars, is changing, especially in my business. Everything's a bolt-on. We don't fix stuff no more. But with the mechanics and cars are outdated and the new electronics that are coming in, it's changing. But the amount of the new 1,000 more people that are in town that are, we need somewhere to stop pretty quick, get an egg, get a milk, get something, get bread, get some meat, get groceries. It's not just beer and wine, Sam. Sam's looking more to entertain the food aspect in the community. But I see the 500 people, where are they going to go? I see the I think there's only 2 convenience stores in town, little parking. How are we going to accommodate all of them? Really not a lot of big growth for the other grocery stores. So I think it's a great idea. I think 1,000 more people in town is going to be hard. I think these grocery stores are going to be a little bit more packed. And I think someone coming home from work a little late, a little tired, can hit his grocery store and then move forward. So I'm okay with it.
Thank you.
Have any more questions for me?
Any questions, commissioners? No, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Any other members of the public in person wish to be heard? Oh, yes. If you would please approach, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name's Eric Monsef. I reside in Montecito. Grew up in Los Gatos. I've known Sam for probably 15 years, maybe a little bit more. Very close relationship. Just want to say a few things. First is, as far as a person I can rely on as a friend and a helper of the neighborhood, I'd say he's kind of one of the anchors of the community here. That's inclusive of him, his family, and his business. And I don't use that lightly. Like, that's something I would say in all seriousness. The second is, I think that particular location serves as kind of a visual gateway to the town. And I mean that in a good way. So having that person there of that integrity, and now a business to kind of visually to go with it, I think it's a big upgrade to the town. That's it.
Thank you so much. And before you sit, any questions, commissioners? No. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else in chambers? Seeing none. Mr. Paulson, anybody on Zoom wish to be heard on this matter?
No.
Thank you so much. Then I'll ask applicant if you wish to make any closing remarks. If not, I will close the public portion of the hearing and ask my fellow commissioners to make any questions, comments, ask staff any questions, or if appropriate, make a motion. Yes, Commissioner Janoff.
Thank you. And thank you for coming tonight. You know, we have a lot of ways that we expect businesses to be neighborhood serving, and this is one of the objectives in our general plan and other elements of town governance. It's very important to have these small businesses serving pockets in the community so neighbors don't have to go very far for business, whether it's the car or whether it's food. It seems like an appropriate establishment for this location in town. So I appreciate the neighborhood serving and that you're changing your model because life is changing, but you're still here and you're still neighborhood serving. And I particularly wanted to thank the speakers because this notion of this corner being a visual gateway is an important element. The changes that you're proposing architecturally are attractive, and it does beautify the corner. So I'm in favor of this application, with the exception of making sure that we've got the right layout to include that 4th parking spot along Industrial.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Hanson.
I have a question for staff. The regulation that we have that prohibits them from having refrigerated beer and wine, and I understand that others might have predated our regulation. It seems to me that if you follow this trajectory, why it's important and what they're trying to do, that they really ought to be able to have refrigerated beer and wine, and it would serve the public better. People would probably want to have this stuff cool, especially if they're going to the park or something like that. So is that something that, I mean, they did not ask for it, but I just was curious about, is this something where, that we just always consistently apply, or? or, is it being considered for updating or?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So this section of the code really is very specific to service stations that include the sale of beer and wine. And so the language I have directly from the code is this deciding body shall impose the following conditions and operating standards. And so those have been reflected in the conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you for that. Chair, if I might
Please.
also comment. I do think that for all the reasons stated that this is this is a worthy application, and I think that all the important considerations have been made in terms of the design of it. So I think it is a useful thing for the community. And I appreciate the comments from people in the audience, especially about with the growth in housing that we have, the need for more convenience stores. So it all makes a lot of sense. And hearing that the applicant has also accepted the terms and conditions that the town offers, I see no reason other than potentially the hours, if they're amenable to reducing them to what they are actually using. And I say that only because with conditional use permits, the hours run with the land. So if we were to grant 5 to 12, and we don't know what comes after that, if there is something that might be problematic. So I would prefer to have more conservative hours.
Thank you so much. And I'll just take this opportunity to agree with both my fellow commissioners and members of the public. I think this is a thoughtful plan. I think it adds a needed element to our community. I understand why the law specifies that we don't want refrigerated alcohol, which can be consumed immediately in close proximity to fueling stations. To me, that makes a certain level of sense. So I would support that part of our application. So I would be in favor of this application with the two changes, those being the hours of operation as we discussed tonight, and then the reconfiguration / removal of what's been called the beer cave into something to make clear that it is not a refrigerated alcohol storage section. Any other commissioners?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to make one clarification for the record. When we stated that the distance to the park was about 1,000 feet, that's because the entrance to Oak Meadow Park is actually down the road a bit. If you do the measurement directly from the corner of this parcel to the corner of Oak Meadow Park, where there isn't direct access, it's more like 300 feet.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. With that clarification, is there any change in discussion from my fellow commissioners? Okay, seeing none, are we, my sense is we have consensus towards a motion. Can I ask one of my fellow commissioners?
For the record, shall I state the new hours?
Yes, please, thank you.
So it would be 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. No, I'm sorry, the new hours would be 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday.
And that's your understanding, the applicant? Very good. Commissioners, with that understanding, can I have a motion from one of my fellow commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
If no one else will. I move that we approve the modification to the existing conditional use permit, and the application number is U-22-002 for a convenience market that includes the sale of beer and wine at an automobile service station on property zoned C1. And I can make all the findings for approving the CUP, and then the that are mentioned in Exhibit 2, and then all the terms and conditions are included in Exhibit 3, as well as the plans included in Exhibit, help me out, staff, I don't know, 8. All right, thank you, and that's my motion.
Thank you so much. Can I have a second? Commissioner Janoff.
I'll second the motion with the clarification that Exhibit 8 does include the updated layout to reflect 10 parking spaces.
And the updated conditions of approval.
And, yes.
For the hours.
Yes, so the updated conditions of approval for the hours that we discussed, and the other change as well. So.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Armour, are there appeal rights?
There are. Thank you. The decision of the commission can be appealed to town council by any interested person as defined by Town Code Section 2910-020 within 10 days on forms available online with fees paid. The final deadline is 4 p.m. on the 10th day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's move now to the other business, which I will also combine with report from the Director of Community Development. Ms. Armour, do we have a report this evening?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of updates based on the activity of Town Council. On March 5th, they discussed the housing element again and did approve a motion to move forward with the process. We are currently in the 7-day public review period of the draft housing element, which will conclude at 5 p.m. tomorrow, with the goal of submitting to HCD on Monday. In addition, at that same meeting, the appeal of the approval of the new home at 212 Thurston was discussed and considered. The decision of the Planning Commission was upheld with appreciation for the detailed deliberations that Planning Commission had on that item and the consideration of all the issues. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. It's now time for our subcommittee reports. In addition to serving on the Planning Commission, each member serves on subcommittees. Commissioners, any reports from subcommittee meetings this week, or since our last meeting, rather? Commissioner Burnett.
Yes, we had a Historic Preservation Committee meeting today. We had a total of 3 items. 2 items had returned to the committee for a final resolution, which that was accomplished. And the third was alterations on a storefront, pre-1941 building on North Santa Cruz Avenue.
I understand HBC has had some special meetings to catch up, so thank you for your extra service. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other subcommittee reports? Seeing none. Just in closing comments, again, thank you to staff for your extraordinary work on these matters. And a final get well to our vice chair. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Come on now.